Welcome to Brain Health Matters, a podcast dedicated to helping you connect with the people and resources that will help you improve your memory, boost your brain, and reduce the risk of developing dementia. This week, they can make us feel uplifted and energized or calm and relaxed. But can essential oils actually help us nurture a healthier body and brain? Stay tuned to learn how that's possible from an expert in the field.
Brain Health Matters is brought to you by Don't Let the Memories Fade. Learn many enjoyable ways to enhance body, mind, and spirit with simple lifestyle changes that will help you improve your memory and your mind. You can create a healthier, more vibrant future with Don't Let the Memories Fade. Available in ebook and paperback on Amazon everywhere.
Hello and welcome to Brain Health Matters. I'm your host, Kate Kunkel, and today I'm joined by Amy Galper. She's the founder of the first Aromatherapy School in New York City, the New York Institute of Aromatherapy, and has been a certified aromatherapist since 2001. Through consulting, books, and online classes, Amy seeks to inspire and empower others in their pursuit of holistic and mindful beauty and wellness. Today, Amy joins us to share the invigorating and healing power of essential oils for a healthier body, mind, and spirit. Welcome, Amy.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me, Katie. I'm excited to have this conversation. So thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to talk about this because I personally am a huge advocate for essential oils, but I am not an educator by any stretch of the imagination. So I'd like you to first start off debunking a few misconceptions about the safety of essential oils, because I personally, when I started using them, people were saying, oh, be careful when you've got the diffuser, you can burn your skin. Are essential oils safe, Amy?
They're absolutely 100% safe. And yes, I would agree with you. There is a lot of misinformation swirling around the internet. You would think that they are these incredibly toxic, dangerous substances, but they are not. But I will say this, like with anything, whether it is natural or not natural, if it is not used correctly, it can be dangerous. I mean, you got to think about it. I mean, a knife, for example, if can be a very useful tool, but if we don't use it correctly and safely, it could become quite dangerous. So we have to have that kind of perspective when we're using essential oils. And I'm not really sure why, but within the field of aromatherapy, for some reason, I think people think that it's a very kind of, what's the word, like not as significant a healing modality as, let's say, other ones where they actually seek out like a trained yoga teacher or a trained massage therapist or a trained acupuncturist. Like you don't just go over to your friend's house and have her put needles in you, right? You go to someone who has professional training that you can trust. And I think that we need to emphasize that using essential oils is a tool that has huge effect on our overall health and well-being. But we need to understand how to correctly use those tools in a safe way, an effective way. And to do that, we need to work with someone who's properly trained. So that's really, really important. Like you would never go and, just hire so-and-so to help you do your personal training at the gym, right? You would get someone who was trained so you wouldn't get hurt. And for some reason, in the field of aromatherapy, people think, well, you don't really need that kind of training, but you kind of do.
I agree. Yeah, because it's like anything else. I'm a brain health trainer. I studied under Dr. Amen. I'm studying under Dr. Bredesen. Yeah, you can have just someone tell you, oh, well, you should eat this, you should eat that, but that doesn't really fit all of the bills, right?
Absolutely. So as far as like the general, like you see a lot of things out there saying that essential oils can be terrible for your skin, for example. Like they can cause severe skin irritations or adverse reactions. And if they are used incorrectly, they can do that. So that means we have to understand the correct use of them. That means never applying them directly to our skin. That means always diluting them down into a carrier oil or an unscented base of some sort, like an unscented liquid cleanser or body lotion or cream or shampoo. and always using less than a lot. Don't think just if you want more of an effect, you have to use so much more. No, in fact, essential oils are meant to be used sparingly, are meant to be used in small amounts. And one thing that I think people, for some reason, even despite the name aromatherapy, that people never consider is really the most powerful way to use an essential oil is just by smelling it. And when you smell it, you're not putting it on your skin, you're not ingesting it, you're not doing the things that could potentially cause an adverse reaction. Whereas smelling it is probably the safest and most powerfully effective way to use it.
And I'm glad you brought that up because then it brings me to the question of diffusers because we've heard terrible stories about pets dying from smelling oils or children getting really sick. What would you say to someone who's really wanting to use a diffuser?
Well, diffusing is one of the safest and easiest ways to use essential oils. However, you need to know which oils to diffuse and which oils not to diffuse. And I'll share with you, Katie, I have a great YouTube video on my YouTube channel about which oils you should never diffuse. And I think that that would be a great thing to share with people, just to get a nice list. And then I also can share with you a free guide that I have for diffusing essential oils safely. So when it comes to diffusing, there are a couple of basic rules. Number one, you should always diffuse in a well ventilated room. And what I mean by that is it must have a window inside of it that you could crack open and a door that you can leave open so there is airflow. If you have a fan going, that's even better. Number one. Number two, always make sure that your diffuser is on an intermittent timer. Now, most diffusers that you purchase all have this built-in mechanism where they go on and they go off, they go on and they go off. And some even fancier ones, like you can decide how long they go off and how long they go on. Now, if you buy a diffuser and it doesn't have that mechanism, what you would need to do is just go on Amazon or go to your local hardware store and you can buy those timers for light switches that turn on a light and turn off a light at specific intervals and times. And then you just plug in your diffuser into that, timer, and then plug that timer into the wall. And then you can set your on off position for your diffuser because the safest way to diffuse is to always have it on intermittently. I recommend, 10 minutes on, 15 minutes off, or half an hour off, etc. But you're not continually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, breathing it in. That is when you're going to see adverse reactions, okay? Both in your upper respiratory, even mentally, in all sorts of ways.
I have to interject here because I have a fancy diffuser with all the different timings, and I only have it on for 5 minutes and off for half an hour. And I feel it's wonderful. I have my own house here in Ecuador, a little house that is my office, and I have a window open. But even with that, I like to just keep it just so that it's there. It doesn't have to be all encompassing because then it's kind of annoying. Like you said about, your mental, it gets kind of annoying to me
Right.
anyway.
And not only that, it actually can start harming you if you're constantly smelling something of the same like potency for a long period of time. We want to be able to engage our sense of smell in a lot of different ways. We need to let it rest and restore itself. So that's like really important. So well ventilated, diffuser on a intermittent schedule. And then also what I find is that people who are using a diffuser, let's say to help them go to sleep, they think putting the diffuser on their nightstand so it blows on their face is the best way to do it. But that's the worst because some of those micro droplets can land on your face and cause irritation. So you want to make sure that it is, far away from, the foot of your bed or the other side of the room so it is not blasting on your face. So that's another one. And then two, you should really get familiar about what essential oils are good to diffuse and what are not to diffuse, especially around children and pets.
Great. So I will make sure we put that link to that information from you in the show notes so that people can grab that. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hello there. Sorry for the interruption, but I had to drop in here and give you a little announcement. This is the end of season 1 of Brain Health Matters, but it's not the end for a long time. It's just every other week now going into season 2. Why? Because I'm starting to write another book called The Mindful Brain, and I do need to spend a little bit more time there and with my clients. I want to thank all of you for joining me for this first season of Brain Health Matters. It's been wonderful. I love that there are so many people engaging and learning all this valuable information from the wonderful guests we've had in this last few months. Coming up September, I'll be here every other week. So the next show will come on September 14th. So if you're watching this in the first week, you'll know not to expect anything on the first week of September. Thank you again so much for joining us, and back to the show. I'd also like to talk about the way essential oils and aromatherapy work. You have a whole school and teach people about this. And I've always really wondered, how is it that something that just smells good can help you?
Well, this is something that I find incredibly fascinating. And I know that you do a lot of brain health work, and I'm sure you're going to find this super fascinating as well. But basically, aromatherapy and the molecules from essential oils can pass into our bodies via three different ways. We can apply them topically, and then they can make connection to our blood vessels via our skin. We can, and then when we inhale them, it kind of branches off into two simultaneous pathways that happen at the same time. Okay. One is it goes into our lungs. And like our skin, we have a lot of capillaries and blood vessels in our lungs. And the aromatic vapors kind of go through that gas exchange that the oxygen goes through, right, into our blood. So we can get instant connection to our blood vessels by going into our body, our physical body. And both when we apply it topically and when we inhale it and it gets into our lungs, our upper respiratory, that is affecting physiological change. Like physically, it's actually literally going through our bloodstream and affecting change in our body. The third way, which happens simultaneously as we inhale, is as those aromatic vapors, as we're inhaling them, right, and they're whizzing through our sinus cavity, making their way down into our lungs, what they do is they whiz by our sinus cavity, they trigger an electrical response, like a neurological response in our olfactory epithelium, which our brain cells, part of our brain matter, which is actually hanging down, dangling in the back of our nasal cavity. And those neurons have these little like finger-like pieces. And as the aromatic molecule whizzes by in its vapor state, it triggers a reaction in those olfactory epithelium, in those nerve endings. And then that nerve ending immediately signals something to part of our brain called the limbic system. And as I'm sure you well know, the limbic system is in charge of every action of our human body, those conscious with those unconscious. Meaning, as we're sitting here having this conversation, those of you who are listening right now, we have a million different activities going on in our body that are controlled by this really powerful place in our mind, in our brain, called the limbic system. And so when we inhale something pleasant, part of our limbic system called the amygdala recognizes this as something safe and pleasurable. And then it sends a signal directly to our hypothalamus, which is responsible for actually creating the proteins and the enzymes, which ultimately become our hormones and the neurotransmitters, which then get instructed by the pituitary gland to travel all over our body and affect physiological change. So that's why when you smell something delicious, before you may even realize it, your digestive juices start to respond. You start to salivate. You start to feel hungry. So, in a nanosecond, that aroma is triggering a physiological response. Same as if you see someone, attractive across the dance floor and you walk by and you might get a whiff of their aroma, you can immediately feel aroused without even knowing who that person is, because that has, triggered this hormonal neurological response. Or smelling something pleasant that relaxes you and prepares you for sleep. So we can see how aroma can have this powerful effect on our physiology.
Completely separate from the chemistry of the essential oils, because we're talking about brain health here. And my specialty is dementia prevention. There are many risk factors that we have for dementia. They include stress, of course, they include lack of sleep, they include stressed out belly if we've got an unhealthy gut. So I'd like to cover a couple of those and what kinds of oils we might be able to use and how to say help if we have a leaky gut. Is there anything that essential oils can do for that?
100%. But the first thing I will say is you should never ingest an essential oil. So drinking or eating an essential oil to soothe your belly is not recommended. Ingesting supplements or herbal teas or things like that are hugely beneficial. But for that, you should seek the recommendation from an herbalist who's trained. For an aromatherapist, right, their recommendations for someone who is dealing with nervous belly issues is topical belly rubs are beautiful. You want to soothe inflammation, calm muscle spasms or gut issues, deal with bloating, deal with cramping, just deal with the butterflies or whatever it might be. And I have found creating massage oils for the abdomen are super powerful. And essential oils that I would recommend would be ones that are anti-inflammatory and calming to the central nervous system, like lavender or any of the chamomiles, like English chamomile or German chamomile. There's an oil called blue tansy, which is quite lovely as an anti-inflammatory. You can, I would also consider an oil like ginger, which is really calming to the belly, also a powerful anti-inflammatory. I would also look at oils that are sedating to our central nervous system, because as I'm sure you know, and you talked about the gut, like our gut has a lot of nerve endings in it that need to be triggered to be relaxed. So things like frankincense or some of our conifer oils like Douglas fir or white fir or hemlock spruce or white spruce are really nice for soothing our nervous system. So that's what I would look at as a massage on our belly for any time that you're feeling stressed, before, after eating, anything like that.
That's a great way to use it. So let's talk about anti-inflammatory, because you have a wonderful video. And people, if anybody has scars, I'm going to do it myself because I have a heck of a scar here. And you had a video about scars, but on there, many of the oils that you use for that are anti-inflammatory. And Alzheimer's is an inflammatory disease. It's because our body is inflamed. So what kind of oils could help with inflammation generally? And perhaps you have some thoughts on just inflammation of the brain, because we can get it not just from our belly, right, but from the brain.
Yeah, so I think inflammation is usually triggered by the stress response. So when we think about soothing inflammation, we're not just trying to, what's the word, just like ease the symptom. We really want to dig to the cause. Like, what is really going on and causing this inflammation? And it's really ultimately due to stress. And this is where aromatherapy can be super powerful to help us manage and navigate our stress, specifically our stress response. Now, in order to recognize that we're stressed, a lot of people go through life and they're not even aware that they're living in such a stressful rhythm. We have to kind of build up some self awareness and some self reflection to understand what is happening in the world around us that is triggering this type of stress response. And this is where aromatherapy can be really powerful. One, just by sitting and smelling an essential oil, simply, all you need is like 5-10 seconds to just sit and sniff something. It is going to invite you to be more self aware and self reflective about being present in the moment. And then, in addition to just opening up your awareness, it also is really great for triggering the relaxation response in our brain, right? In that our body has, our nervous system has a component of our nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is really important for our body to rest and restore itself. And unfortunately, in the modern hustle bustle of our life, we kind of, shove our parasympathetic nervous system under the rug and think, oh, I'm going to get rest this weekend, or oh, I don't need the rest, I can push through, or oh, I'm going to do this, right? And after years of doing that, then we literally forget how to relax. And that's really where the problem starts. So, what aromatherapy can do is it can remind our body of how important it is to relax and to allow that part of our nervous system to kick in and help us restore and revitalize. So, by triggering that parasympathetic nervous response, the relaxation response is really important.
So, like lavender, we hear about that all the time, and I personally use that. Are there any other oils that you specifically like for that relaxation response?
Oh, 100%. I think sandalwood, very powerful. I think geranium essential oil, frankincense essential oil, Atlas cedarwood essential oil, blue tansy essential oil, helichrysum essential oil. These are very powerful, relaxing. Clary sage essential oil, very nice for soothing and calming our nervous system.
So now let's go to energizing because another risk factor for dementia is lack of exercise. And I hear it from my clients all the time. I just don't have the energy. I just don't want to get off the couch. Blah, blah, blah. Are there essential oils that can help energize?
Oh, 100%. And those that you really want to go to, and you really just only need to sniff them, are our citrus oils. So those are the essential oils that come from orange peel, grapefruit peel, lime, lemon, all of the citrus fruits. And then also those essential oils that come from needle evergreen trees. So, like pines and spruces and firs, cypresses, junipers, those are all really like awakening and exciting. And then there's another group of oils like rosemary and eucalyptus and peppermint that are also very invigorating and awakening.
I love peppermint. I use that all the time. When I'm feeling
Oh
peppermint
yeah, it's a
is my
great.
go-to. So how about for concentration? Because that's another issue that a lot of people have. We hear about brain fog all the time, especially women going through menopause. We hear that so common, and concentration issues, a little bit of memory. Any ideas there for us?
Oh yeah, I think this is where inhalation and having like a personal inhaler, something that you could just sniff. It could just be a cotton ball or something in a jar, but just sniffing it periodically throughout the day. Rosemary is probably your best bet for really tuning the mind. But also I would say some of those other oils for energizing. I think lemon is particularly focusing, peppermint, very awakening, spearmint, very awakening, eucalyptus, very awakening. Some of the pine oils also help us focus and concentrate. Mhm.
Okay, so now you were talking about sleep and the oils not to keep the diffuser away.
Hmm.
I've often used lavender on a little cotton ball beside my pillow to sleep.
Perfect.
Any other oils that you specifically say for sleep as opposed to relaxation?
Ones that will really sedate you. Absolutely. So when we're looking to go to sleep, right, we have two things going on. We need our body to relax and we need our mind to relax. Now, some people, their body is exhausted, but they can't turn off their mind. And other people, their mind is exhausted, but their body is so tense they can't get comfortable to fall asleep. So we're going to need something that's going to relax both the body and the mind in that way. So we're going to need ones that trigger kind of an antispasmodic experience in the physical body, but also help clear and make space in our mind. So those oils that I would look at are clary sage essential oil, marjoram essential oil, coriander seed essential oil. These are really nice for both calming and relaxing the physical body and also clearing the mind.
Amy, this has been amazing. I feel like I had a whole course right here. Speaking of which, you have courses for people who you can just tap into Amy's knowledge. How do people get access to those, Amy?
Well, you could go to my website, amygalper.com, and you could click the resources page, and you could find a couple of free resources, as well as some very accessible classes. I have an essential oil safety class, and I have a class about diffusing essential oils. And I recently just launched a new course online. These are all online classes called Aromatherapy for Holistic Living. And all of these links I will share with you, Katie, so you could share them with your community and your audience. But that's really the best way. And then follow me on Instagram. So many people reach me on Instagram and ask me questions, and then also on my YouTube channel, which is slowly growing.
Yeah, I love it. I have to say, folks, yeah, check it out because I love essential oils. I have to admit I don't know a lot about them, and that's why I was so excited to see an expert agree to come on the show and help us out here. So we've got our brains in better shape, we've got our guts in better shape. We're going to sleep better and we're going to be able to concentrate. What more can you ask of an amazing, pleasant therapy? That's the other thing.
Yeah, it's very beautiful, you know. Engaging our sense of smell is just one of the gifts of one of our many amazing blessings we have, just to be alive, to be able to smell and smell things. I mean, you know, in certain liturgies, you know, there's even prayers for beautiful aromas. You know, this is something that human beings have always celebrated and held close to their hearts, is this understanding of the power of aroma.
Memory. The memories that are inspired by aroma. I work with a particular program, and one of the ways to bring people back from dementia, at least temporarily, is to expose them to an aroma that they enjoyed when they were younger. Like for me, it would be almost potato salad. I
Right.
can smell it. I can be back in her back porch. I can smell it. But there are other things like that that bring people back. So, you know, like your grandmother might have worn lavender perfume or had lavender sachets in her bedroom. You can be brought right back to that wonderful time and place.
100%.
Amy, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And oh, by the way, you also have programs for people who would like to become aromatherapists, right?
Absolutely. I have a course called Aromatherapy in Action, which is a course to make you a certified aromatherapist. So, aromatherapy is not a licensed profession. So, it's like yoga or Reiki or any of these other healing modalities. So, in order to become certified, students have to follow a curriculum that the educational standards have been created and set forth by the professional associations with which govern it, right? My program has been, scrutinized and approved by 3 of the world's associations for aromatherapists. So if you were to go through my program and complete all the homework, you can call yourself a level 2 clinical aromatherapist and start seeing clients. So that is totally available to you too. And it is an amazing program. I mean, even if you don't want to be an aromatherapist, in all honesty, like you don't want to get that certificate or start your own business, having the kind of depth of knowledge and understanding is going to serve you well in the long run. In that course, I teach you over 65 essential oils, all the different therapeutics, anatomy and physiology and phytochemistry and everything. So you really get a well-rounded, deep understanding of the practice.
I really think that anybody who sells essential oils would be wise to do something like that. Because I know a lot of people who kind of dabble in it, but you ask them questions and it just you don't really get the answers that can help. So we seek out people like yourself. But I think that's a really good idea. And thank you for sharing your knowledge in such an intense way for people to really grab onto this amazing modality.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And everybody, thanks for joining us here on Brain Health Matters. I'm with Amy Galper, and we're talking about aromatherapy. Be sure to subscribe to Brain Health Matters on YouTube or your favorite podcast service to ensure that you get all of the latest episodes as they're released, because every time we share important information that could change your life or the life of a loved one.
Brain Health Matters is brought to you by the Musical Brain, Book 3 in the Healthy Brain series. Enjoy the fun and easy practices in this book to improve your memory, sharpen focus, and master your mind with the healing power of music. Available on Amazon everywhere.